Sunday Night Safran. Religion, politics, culture, and listening.
Pax Father Bob. Tonight, on our special World Youth Day edition, we're going to be crossing to Sydney. Miriam Cabello, who's painted a Stations of the Cross. She's going to tell us everything that's going down in Sydney with World Youth Day. We're going to be talking to the president of the Australia-Cuba Friendship Society also, who's going to try to reprogram my brain.
Yeah,
so
I was wondering how you did that.
So I become pro-Fidel Castro and stuff. Her name is Joan Cocksedge.
Famous politician.
Going to be talking to director Vincent Ward, who's done a film, very good but sad film. Did you actually watch it?
Yes.
Did you cry?
No.
Are you even talking to the microphone?
Oh, I'm not talking to the microphones. I was talking to you. See, it's Sunday.
Did anyone hear... Did
Today...
Sorry, listeners. Now, it's all about Maori curses.
Yes.
Polynesian curses.
All of that.
And we're going to be
And
talking...
a number of children who died mysteriously as a result of it.
And we're going to be talking to another filmmaker, Luke Walker, who's just released a film about a cult/sect in Australia, and he's now off to America to shoot another doco on exorcists.
Now, what about Nihal Hana?
Ah, yes, and yes...
Member of Our Lady Guardian of Plants. Don't laugh at that.
That's an Iraqi Catholic group.
The Chaldeans.
That's having sort of a bit of tension with the non-Iraqi Catholic groups. He'll tell us all about that and play a religious song of the week. Now, Father Bob, if you're a big corporation, should you have to abide by the same laws of the land as regular people? Or suddenly are you allowed to have exceptions? Are you allowed to do things differently and not like there's a law there, but because you're a big multinational corporation, you don't have to follow it?
Well, one would hope that one is bound, whether big or small, by the same law of the land. But go on, you've led me into the trap.
Interesting you say that.
Roman Catholic Church.
Interesting you say that.
Large corporation.
Because Disney... nothing about the Catholics. Disney...
my friend.
There's been a new law in Florida that says employees are allowed to carry concealed weapons in their vehicles.
Yeah.
Like outside the workplace, right? So that's the law in Florida. And Disney is saying, we don't want any guns near our amusement park.
Yes.
So they're banned. So they're saying we're going to go against the law
of the land.
The law of the land, because we don't want guns near our workplace because we think it's dangerous. So either, Bob, either you're for what Disney are doing, and therefore you think corporations don't have to follow the same laws of the land as regular people, or you're against what Disney are doing and you're pro-gun and you think it's a good idea for people to have to carry guns around everywhere. So what are you?
They a bit of each?
Are you pro-globalisation, multinational, goose-stepping corporation, or are you pro-guns?
Give Disneyland an exemption. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bob. Now
See, crisp.
We'll talk more after this.
Well, we hope so. The Faker with Sleepwalking, John, Sunday Night Safran on Triple J.
Joining us from World Youth Day in Sydney to tell us the latest, what's going down there, is artist Miriam Cabello. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Pleasure to be on the show.
Now, you had an opening of your officially sanctioned by World Youth Day art show last night. Tell us about your art exhibition.
Oh, it was actually fantastic. It was great to have such lovely support from friends and.
But tell us about the art.
Oh, of course, yes. The art. It's really provocative and controversial in the fact that I'm painting a black Christ and using the metaphor of boxing. So it's fantastic seeing the response of people and just coming up and asking, well, why a black boxer? Why you're portraying Christ in this fashion, and it really opened up a fantastic dialogue with all the people there looking at the work.
Now, because I grew up being a white kid but in love with Public Enemy and hip-hop, I was very aware of that whole Jesus was a black man type argument from a young age. Was he actually black? Because of where he was in the Middle East and how harsh the sun was back then?
That's one interpretation. But for me personally, I really don't know what Christ looks like, and I wouldn't assume what he looks like. So the reason I've painted in black actually is more to open a discourse on prejudice and race, and open up that can of worms a little bit in the discussion that I have with people on the art.
How so? How so? What's the connection with race and what Jesus had to go through in his final hours?
Yeah, that whole struggle of basically enduring, basically biased towards what he was saying. He was basically teaching and preaching on peace and also social justice, equality. Where he saw something wrong, he spoke up against it. And I think a lot of people are prosecuted when they try and make change, radical change, a bit perhaps too ahead of their time, and they risk everything in doing that. And I think we've seen that throughout the ages. There have been some fantastic leaders that have been killed for what they've tried to do. And obviously Dr. Martin Luther King is a great example of that as well.
And why did you make him a boxer? Is that not just racially charged within itself? Like, because, just presenting a black person as a boxer. Why didn't, like a tap dancer or something?
Yeah.
Why didn't you make him like an upwardly mobile black person, like an accountant?
Because I thought that would be a really boring story. Basically, I've been influenced by boxing quite a lot. There's some beautiful, passionate stories out there, powerful drama when like, for example, boxers like Dave Sands, Aboriginal boxer who died tragically at the age of 26 in a car accident. You have amazing boxers like Hurricane that was unjustly jailed and lost 22 years of his life in prison, and Joe Louis that was basically set up as the American boy in terms of during World War II. He had to fight Max, hopefully you know a bit about boxing too, Schmeling I think it was, and he was German, and Joe Louis being obviously American. It was the fight against evil and fascism as well, and so he was used for that in terms of the good publicity, and then later on he wasn't pretty much supported.
Father Bob, isn't he a boxer? Well,
yes,
he's a boxing priest. What's his name?
Dave
Father
Smith
Dave.
in Sydney.
He's an Anglican, isn't he?
Yeah, he should get
because he wanted me, dear listener, there was this priest and he contacted me and he wanted me to box him.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
For some sort of fundraiser. It's kind of petered out.
Yeah.
But
mainly, what a shame.
Mainly, no, I would have done it, but I was like I've got a bit of like Naomi Wolf, the beauty myth issues, where I don't like to take off my top in public. So it was more that rather than, I didn't mind getting punched up or anything. In fact, I would have liked it. But
what a shame. Yeah, that's what I've enjoyed about the paintings. You get to paint a lot of nice muscular formations.
This is a work in progress too, isn't it? Because you've got 14 to do.
Correct, yeah.
And how many have we got so far? We've got...
Six in total.
Isn't it?
Yes, and I have another 8 to do.
Yeah.
So this whole Stations of the Cross to the non-Catholics, because there are some of us out there, Father Bob, it's like, so like in artwork it's depicting what the different times Jesus had to stop on his way to being bashed up on the... Yes.
Yeah. And they were designed so that the ordinary people around the world who couldn't travel to Palestine could in fact make the trip around their parish church.
That's right.
Simple.
Yeah.
Business.
And there are 2 versions as well. Like there's there's the traditional 14 stations that you'll commonly see in churches, like any church whatsoever that you go to. But Pope John Paul II introduced the more scripture-based version in 1991, and that's the one I'm referring to because of my love of art history. You'll find the most famous masterpieces depict these works based on the scriptures.
Yeah. And now, the abstract expressionists in New York.
That's right, yeah. Thrown a bit of abstract expressionist work in there, a bit of Pollock, throwing the painting around.
What's the worst reaction you've got to your art? Tell us just the worst thing. Has anyone thrown paint on you or anything? Or
no, thank God.
Shot at you or anything?
No, so don't encourage or provoke people.
No.
No, it's been pretty good. I've actually just, as I said, had fantastic conversations with people that have to deal with their own issues about seeing a black Christ, actually. And I've had pretty good, I guess, verbal battles rather than physical ones, which is nice.
If you want to see Miriam Cabello's Jesus as a Boxer, Stations of the Cross, you can go to the MLC Gallery near Ultimo during World Youth Day. Is that all the information you need?
Yeah, and I'd love them to come before it closes. They've got until August the 3rd, so please come along in these next few weeks. Give me your opinions, come and see the work and
No, you don't. No, you don't. I don't reckon you want them. Like, just say someone thinks they're really badly drawn. Do you really want to hear that?
Oh, look, why not? If someone notices the hands look a little deformed, I don't mind. I'll go back to the studio and fix them up.
Thank you very much for joining us, Miriam Cabello.
Ciao. Gold Frapped with Happiness, John. Sunday Night Safran on Triple J.
Someone has been vandalising your church,
They
I
did,
hear.
apparently, yes. I put up a sign. I put up a nice sign. I thought I'd better put something up on the notice board outside using magnetic letters, and it said, sorry, next line, Pope Mobile v versus Hope Mobile.
Very,
So I went into my very cryptic...
That's like one of the Batman's villains would leave that message.
Exactly.
That you have to like decode and
Decode it.
Yeah. So what you've got? You drive a thing called the Hope Mobile.
A Hope Mobile which feeds the poor.
Yes.
And I wrote in a blog somewhere that maybe the Pope, if he drove my Hope Mobile around Randwick, well, then it would make some sense. Instead of saying sorry, show a bit of form. George Pell could take off his beautiful Versace clothes and put on sackcloth and ashes.
Yes.
Which you're familiar with because your mob does sackcloth and ashes. I went to bed.
Yes.
I got up in the morning. The nice man who runs church this very morning said, "Oh, Father, yes, my child." I said, he said, somebody overnight has in fact put rude words on the sign.
What did they
Scrambled
do?
all your signs and said, F U C
Yes.
dot.
Yes.
The Pope.
Oh, so they just took out the magnetic letters and rearranged them.
Rearranged them. How could they rearrange them?
Doesn't
If
it-
in fact there was no F U C.
So they brought
dot.
their own along.
They must have done something with come prepared. Is this anonymous?
You think if they brought their own along, they could come up with something like wittier? Than...
Well, apparently some woman came in and said, "Oh, I see, at least that must be you put that sign up because you're making your feelings felt." I said, "Madam, you're talking about a loyal disciple of the Holy Father. I wouldn't have put that up." She said, "Oh, I thought it was you." Anyhow, I've rearranged the damn things. But look at what happens when while you were sleeping in Seattle.
Do you know what I don't understand about the Pope protests?
What?
Like, I understand the ones where they're protesting him for maybe fostering an environment of homophobia. I understand that. And also if you're pro-women priest, like, I understand why you're protesting. Like, there's a logic thing. I don't understand the condom thing that much.
No.
This is, and so I'm kind of standing up for your side, Bob. 'Cause I looked
My
into
side's not the only ones in the universe.
This is the implication that
I
somehow
haven't
if the
mentioned
Pope.
condoms for 50 years.
But stop having a fight with me when I'm agreeing with
Oh,
you.
are you? I didn't
I'm
know.
standing up for your
Right.
people. That the implication that if the Pope took a stand for condoms, there'd be some significant decrease
What, made them
in
compulsory or
HIV
something?
infection. I don't buy it, and this is why, Father Bob.
Yeah.
In Italy,
Yeah.
90% of people are Roman Catholics,
Yeah.
and that's the Pope's backyard, right?
Yeah.
They have a negligible rate of HIV infection,
Yes.
like 0.0 blah,
Yes.
blah.
Yes.
And also they have, I think, the second lowest birth rate in the West,
Yes.
which suggests that people in Italy, even though they're all Roman Catholic and, in fact, in the Pope's backyard,
Yes.
just don't listen to the Pope when he says don't wear condoms, right?
Yes.
Then you go to Africa, where in
Yes.
some parts of Africa, some countries,
Yes.
the HIV infection rate is like 20% or even higher. In Africa, it's like 5% of Africa is Roman Catholic. And so why would the Pope proclaiming love of condoms have any effect in Africa for the rate of AIDS and HIV?
Yeah, but I don't think the Pope's going to mention bloody condoms, for God's sake. Aren't there other things to talk about? around the universe. The Anglicans are talking about bishops, women bishops. We're talking about whatever we're talking about. Say sorry for... I asked somebody this morning in church, excuse me, any lawyers in this church, would you please go and do a forensic research on how many Roman Catholic officials have in fact sexually abused children? That's what I wanted. And how many? I said, you can't ask that question today because it's not appropriate, because everybody's offended by anybody Catholic clergyman who asks the question. But I just like to know, is it 5,000 of us are at it? Or is it 5 out of 5,000? I just want to know for scientific reasons. But in the meantime, he can say sorry. It's all very good. It's like Abu Ghraib. No officer in command was sacked. The grunts on the ground, the infantrymen, they were the ones who pursued. Why are they pursuing the priests or brothers or nuns when in fact they should be pursuing those in command who are responsible in the final analysis? Do both of them. Anyway, thank you for that. Thank you for that. I don't want to talk about any of that this week. This week's going to drive me stark, raving nuts.
We'll talk more after this.
Bliss and Echo... No, Esso with Eye of the Storm, John. Sunday Night Safran on Triple J.
So I'm driving to a hardware shop, going in to pick up some stuff. What do you reckon? What do you reckon would finally get me out of my flat into a car to drive to like a hardware shop for like to do some, handyman stuff for possibly not the first time in my life, but haven't been there that often. What do you reckon would finally drag me there?
Water.
No. What do you mean
seeping in through the roof.
No, not at all.
Mouse traps.
No. One more guess.
One more guess. Draughts coming under the door.
Draughts?
Drafts.
Well, drafts on a kind of word association level is kind of getting there. I've got this deluxe Scrabble board made of wood that like folds up like that, and the hinges, one of them finally busted on it, so I had to head for the hardware store to get a new hinge for my foldy deluxe wooden Scrabble board.
A tiny hinge.
Very, very awkward when I got into the Bunnings and the guys asked me what's it for and stuff. I thought I didn't. No, I didn't, because he was a bloke's bloke, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like very,
Yeah, overalls.
Gruff. Yes.
Gruff too.
Yeah, gruff.
Like Kenny.
Yes, he was like Kenny.
Yes.
And I didn't want to tell him.
What you'd say it was?
I need a hinge for my Scrabble board. I was vague about it. I said I needed a small hinge.
I'm unhinged, Kenny. Oh, dear me. What trials and tribulations.
Why do people know that I'm not equipped for manual labour? I was at a party last night where at a house where it came up that the female owner of the place had a dishwasher that needed to be assembled. And then they were talking about it like over me about how they needed some guy to kind of put it together. But they knew not to ask me. Why's that?
I don't know. Maybe the persona that you project, John, yes, that you are rather cerebral.
Ah, yes.
You see what I mean?
I blame my father, not me. My father chose not to teach...
Is he not a handyman?
Yes, he is, and he chose not to teach me stuff. Oh, and his father was like a silversmith and everything.
So your father could, in fact, assemble this woman's refrigerator?
Dishwasher, yeah, definitely.
Oh, sorry.
And he can do things. He can change fuses.
I wonder why have you had it out with him?
He can rehinge Scrabble boards. I don't know. I guess you kind of, your father can't teach you everything. You know what I mean? Like he sent me to footy practice and he made me learn the trumpet, and I went to Sunday school, and like it's not like my dad ignored me. No. I went to scouts. Yeah. I guess you just have to draw the line somewhere. You know what I mean? There's only so many hours in the day, so he just did not.
So you remained unhinged.
Yes, he just didn't teach me all this, screwing kind of stuff.
Yeah, well, thank God. You leave the screwing out, but I mean, to be unhinged permanently.
Yes.
And creeps into your Scrabble board.
Now, a lot of people on the guest book have pointed out that there's Uyghur news or Uyghur news.
Yes.
And our claims, dear listeners,
they want you
a month ago that the Uyghur story was going to blow up as it went towards the Olympic Games, and therefore you could sound informed, and it's
if you were
proved to be true.
You should stay away from China.
Chinese police have shot dead 5 alleged Uyghur militants in the northwestern region of Xinjiang. Yes. So there you go. So it's
just
not good
like
news.
that, boom, boom.
It's not good news, but it is news. And that's, of course, following on from one of the dudes who was just released from Guantanamo Bay was a Uyghur.
Yes, yes. So that news was broken, of course, on this program. And we did have, in fact, an Australian Uyghur who put us right on the pronunciation, which we've never been able to manage since. But have you got any other of those special interests that, in fact, may well be, you know?
I've got to find out about the whole Cyprus thing. Now that Alexander Downer's going over there,
yeah.
So that's like a new thing. There's too many things to know.
Yeah, that's our problem.
There's just too many. You think you cover up that base and you feel smug because you know about the Uyghurs, and then you suddenly have to learn all about the whole Ottoman Turk versus Greek Orthodox on the island of Cyprus.
Well, now the film's on, we have to know about Mongolia. You see what I mean? I can help you with Cyprus because I know a little bit about Cyprus. But Joan would know a bit about Cyprus.
Yeah, we're going to be talking.
Joan Cocksedge, she knows all about those.
Who is she? She's the head of the Australia,
President
Cuba,
of Australia-Cuba Friendship Society.
And she's going to be wagging her finger at me next, saying...
And so she ought.
John, be pro-Cuba. After this.
Anti-flag with Bright Lights of America, John. Sunday Night Safran on Triple J.
Thank you, Father Bob. Now, Bob, being an old kind of unreconstructed left-wing pinko, is always communist, is always standing up for Castro, which always leads me to attack him. But we thought we'd bring an expert in, someone who might actually know what they're talking about, besides me and you, who don't know what we're talking about. Joan Cocksedge, the president of the Australia-Cuba Friendship Society. How are you?
Fine. How are you?
Good. Now, why would anyone be supportive of the Cuban regime, like even on just some basic level where you go, they don't have elections.
They do. I've been there when they hold elections, and they do, and they're actually far more meaningful than the sort of things that pass for elections in this country, where you vote for somebody every 3 years who you've never heard of before, and you never see them again until next time comes around. The people are deeply involved. They actually choose the candidates. They've got 3 tiers of government, and they choose the candidate, and they have to perform, the people who are elected, and if they don't, out they go.
But don't they have to follow the philosophy of Castro?
No, what they've got to do is look after the community they represent. And this is why it's worth going to Cuba. Very hard to talk about a country you have never been to. If you go there, you'll find you're entering... If you go there with an honest, open mind and an open heart, don't go in there with preconceptions in any direction, you will find you'll learn a great deal.
So in Australia,
if
you're against Rudd or against Howard, you can stand against them. If you're against Castro, can you go in an election and stand against him?
Well, the thing is, the Communist Party doesn't stand candidates anyway. We're talking about a whole different concept of society, which is hard for us. We live in a confrontationalist setup, whether it's the law or the parliament, where you have this always against each other. It's not a good way to function, which means even if somebody brought up a good idea from the other side, they'll automatically chuck it out because it comes from the other side, regardless. Whereas surely a society is better if it can combine the best and argue it out and actually represent people. See, the big difference you notice here, we're such a money-grubbing sort of I am society where everything has to, appeal to the individual, very individualistic. To actually go into a society that talks about we and has a communal sense is very refreshing. I like it. I like the sense that people have some care about each other, that there's some concerns, there's a community involvement. That's the big thing you notice, and it's something I like. I like very much, because you don't sort of see in Cuba a situation where you get somebody who's in their 80s, they die and they're left in a flat and nobody knows they're dead for a couple of weeks afterwards or months afterwards.
So you're saying in Australia that happens more so?
Oh, God, yes. I mean, in Cuba, it just does not happen. They've got sort of communal groups that keep an eye on things, and they know when the kids are ducking school, they know when somebody's sick and all the rest of it, and they act accordingly. So they act in a way just to keep an eye on things, and I think that can be very comforting for people who are ill, who are old, who are young, and all the rest of it. And I'm saying young, I mean very young.
Now, when people start bagging Cuba, the thing that always comes up is they're meant to have a super health system. Is that true? Have you seen that with your own eyes?
Yes, indeed. I've investigated that quite substantially. I've visited a lot of hospitals when I was there, including family clinics. You see, they don't have a for-profit health system. They don't have a private pharmaceutical setup. What they have are people who actually work on the ground and look after communities. They have family doctors. So when they do their training, which is 6 years, they do an extra 3 years on top of the 6, and then they run clinics right throughout Cuba, in the mountainous areas, the poor countries. But perhaps the most rewarding and revealing thing about Cuba is the number of doctors they've sent overseas. When a country's in crisis, China now, they've sent hundreds of doctors there to assist them.
Didn't Fidel have to get some doctor himself from overseas?
Probably, because America with the blockade... Yeah, well, they accept that. There might have been expert help needed. He's a very old man, and he was very, very sick. No doubt about that. Absolutely. And they did bring in a couple of surgeons, but he's still very, very sick. And clearly they recognised they needed some particular expertise that they weren't able to do themselves. But they're training hundreds of doctors in East Timor on our own doorstep. So while we send soldiers, they send doctors. And they actually have got a whole lot of East Timorese studying in Cuba itself, and some are actually studying in East Timor. And that's the sort of thing that I think we need in our world. We don't want to send guns and soldiers. Surely it's really good if we send things like doctors and teachers. And they also have, can I just finish this part on the medical side of things? They have the lowest infant mortality rate in the Americas, and that includes in the United States, lower than there. And they also have a very high rate at the other end of people living longer. And so, and you see, what they do, their whole aim of their medical system is not to wait for people to get sick. They try to keep people well. That is the aim of it. And so when you go into the country, into the sort of Sierra Maestra Mountains and so on, you go to a family doctor's clinic and you have a family doctor there with a nurse and so on, and they look after something between 180 and 200 families, and they get to know them very well. And therefore, what their aim is, because of the blockade, there is a shortage of drugs, but nevertheless, their whole aim is to keep people well.
Who are these Miami expats who lived in Cuba and have escaped and are bagging it? Why shouldn't we listen to them?
Why should you listen to them? Because they're terrorists. One, for example, Luis Posada Corrales, he was responsible. It's been actually, he was convicted in a court of downing a Cuban airliner in 1976.
That's not like one or two of them. It's like heaps and heaps.
That's right. And they have taken part in bombings in Havana. You mightn't read about it in our newspapers, but you sure as hell can read about it in plenty of English papers like The Guardian that Father Bob mentioned earlier. They have, I think it was 97. There were a load of bombings in Havana itself amongst restaurants, discos, etc. And the whole aim was obviously to target tourism, because Cuba now does depend a lot on tourism, so that it can pay for its free health care and free education system. People don't have to pay for it. I mean, it's hard for us to envisage, isn't it, when we've got such a two-tiered everything, you know, private. But they don't pay for any of it. So the monies they make from tourism helps to pay for that. And so it's a society that's based on community and not on profit. And that's the big difference.
You've got to give him a downside.
Yeah. Well, for example, how come there's censorship organisations that seem pretty matter-of-fact, like they criticise a lot of different countries, so it's not like they're picking on Cuba, and they pick on Cuba for throwing dissidents. Penn.
But there's one there that's the, I'm just trying to think of it, they use the name, doctors,
Reporters
Without
Sans
Borders.
Frontiers.
Yes, Reporters Without Borders is a CIA front. If you check the genesis of it, which I have done...
So there aren't journalists that have been thrown in prison in Cuba?
Don't believe anything they say. They're an ideological mob.
But what about Penn?
Extreme right-wing. I haven't read anything Penn has said, so I can only accept your word for Penn. But as far as Reporters Without Borders, they're not worth two bob. They're a crook group, and they're funded by the CIA, and it's well documented. One of the CIA fronts is the National Endowment for Democracy, and that's where they get a lot of their money from. That was set up by Henry Kissinger.
Yeah, but whether they are or aren't, that either journalists have been thrown in jail in Cuba for expressing dissent, or they haven't.
Well,
so
I think that's been widely exaggerated. I don't know that. I'm not aware of that. And if they are, see, don't forget, you can't just pluck that out of the fresh air. Let's go and have a look at what America is doing now. Bush has put aside a huge amount of money. I think it's about $100 million this year to fund dissident groups in Cuba to create mayhem in Cuba. Now, that's happening now, and of course there is a US special interest section that operates in Havana, which I've seen, of course, and that's like equivalent, if you like, of an embassy. And they have been flat out trying to foment trouble, because, you see, you've got to get certain political context.
But who are these people who are willing to go along with Bush then in Cuba? These people who are willing to be paid
people, I
by...
suppose you could say any country. You have your quislings, you have people, if you offer them money, it's an incentive, I suppose, for some people who you can buy them. They say everybody's got a price, which I think is rather a sad philosophy, personally. But with some people, if you offer them money and other inducements, maybe that's what they'll do. It happens, unfortunately, in wartime. It happens around the world. It's one of the sadnesses, if you like, of life.
OK, so tell us one bad thing about Castro's Cuba.
Well, that's pushing it a bit. What's one bad thing? I think their public transport's pretty lousy, but, again, you've got to come back to the fact that when the Soviet Union collapsed in 89, that fell apart, didn't it? Now, they were too dependent on the Soviet Union. They were too dependent. They've admitted that themselves. Now, can I just say this, John, that one of the refreshing things about Cuba is if they make mistakes, they say so. And they admitted that. That was a big mistake to be so dependent, and they're now far more independent. Their policies now, in fact, I'd say they'll survive whatever the 21st century has to throw at it in better shape than us, because they're largely self-sufficient. They grow a lot of their own food. Because of the blockade, which has cost them in excess of, I think it was $80 billion over the period, and they set that up in 1961, and it's just been a huge impost on them. And you think of what that would mean to a small country. It's a small, poor country. It's only got 11 million people.
What chance of them getting back together again, US of A and Cuba?
I don't know. I'm not liking very much what I'm hearing Barack Obama say.
No,
because
he doesn't like Cuba?
No, he went down to the... Well, you see, this is it. They want to get in as president, don't they? They'd sell their souls to their grandmas if they could get a few.
And so you're saying he wants to get the vote from all the...
Well, he went down
tens
there.
of thousands of...
He went
Cuban
down to the Miami mob,
Miami.
and they're a pretty fearsome group. Even the Americans admit they're of the far right. And he went down there, and he virtually sold out to them.
Oh, I see.
And unfortunately, they tend to do that. He's already sold out, I think, on Iran. Didn't he say he'd bomb the shit out of Iran?
If you're pro-Cuba, does that mean... Do you listen to the Buenos Vistas Social Club CDs?
I love music.
Okay.
Very fond of music. And that's another thing I
didn't know what
mentioned.
the ruling was on that, because it's like an American came over and kind of produced them.
They
and
were
stuff.
delighted.
So I don't know whether it's like,
They were delighted.
empire or anti-imperialism.
No, I think they're very happy with that somebody... I think with affection for Cuba came and had great affection for the old blokes who hadn't...
Do you have a website that you can tell the people if they want to find out more about the Australia-Cuba Friendship Society?
Oh, God, yes, we do, but I haven't brought it with me.
Maybe
I've got an email address which they can get in touch with me. I think that's a bit risky, perhaps, but we do have a website, but I haven't brought the website with me.
I'm sure people can
sorry.
just type it into Google then. Thank you very much for joining us,
on you, Joan.
Yes, well, it's a pleasure talking with you both, and good luck.
Viva Cuba!
Viva!
This is Sunday Night Safran.
with John Safran and Father Bob.
That was, wasn't it, Dukes of Windsor, with no disguise. Sunday Night Safran, as the nice lady said. Triple J.
Victor Arroyo, he's one of the journalists chucked in
The prison.
And he's one of my favourite case studies because he's in a prison in Guantanamo Bay, but not that Guantanamo Bay
Yeah, I was
prison.
going to mention that prison that you keep going on about. I thought,
That's
we're all
my
in.
favourite boring fact to your listeners is that there's Guantanamo Bay prisons that aren't that Guantanamo Bay prison run by
Yeah, you're
Castro.
saying that the one that's run by Castro is full of dissidents.
Oh, a couple. Yeah, there were like several dozen journalists chucked in, dissidents. But she'd have some other word for them, terrorist or something. Anyway, I was about to. I've got a question for you, Bob. I want more information, and listeners, if you know
What?
If you know, have any information on this, can you go to the guest book or just email
What
me?
is
or
it? What
something?
is it?
I want to know if there's any. You know how like non-Darwinists are always Christians.
Yeah.
They seem to be. It's
Are
like,
they?
yeah, like people who are for who go, Darwinism doesn't make any sense. There's another explanation. Their explanation is creationism,
Well,
right?
are they all Christians, are they?
Yeah, amazing evangelical Christians. Even your mob, the freaking Catholics, believe in evolution. But I want to know, are there like atheists? Are there people without a religious barrow to push who are non-Darwinists? So people are going like, Darwinism, evolution is crap. Evolution is crap, but I'm not saying it because I'm religious.
I'm not a
religious
creationist.
and I'm pushing for a god.
Well, how would they? Must have some explanation for themselves of how we got here and all the rest of it. They couldn't have any other explanation.
And there must have been other things before Darwin came out with explanations that were non-religious. Cause I want to get on board with one of those.
Yeah.
Just to mess with everyone's head. I want to reject evolution, but not take up creationism. So
Help him. Get to the guest book. Help him. Make some solid references for him. You drive me mad over this creationism versus, what is the other one? Scientism. I'm not fussed by it. I like all that stuff. But then I get wobbly towards the, beginning. What was there in the very beginning? What was before the Big Bang? I go to
that's what I don't understand. Why don't the evangelical Christians go with that? Because that's where they could really mess with Richard Dawkins and Christopher Hitchens and Sam Harris's head. Yeah. They could go, okay, explain what happened the day before day one, Richard Dawkins. Yeah. And they could really pin him down on that thing. But they don't. They go for the whole...
Yeah, they go a bit funny, see, because I keep saying there's no beginning and no end. Anyway, that's boring.
Do you know what afternoon calcium is?
Afternoon calcium?
I don't... Remember I was talking about when I was in America, there was this ad campaign where they were trying to introduce the concept that you're meant to have 4 meals in a day?
Yes.
For Taco Bell, and the campaign was the 4th meal. And it was that was like the slogan, and it was all different executions of that slogan, where it was trying to convince people that this whole thing that we have 3 meals a day is garbage. You should have a 4th one, like around midnight. So I saw another one along that lines in Australia, which is something I think for some sort of paddle. Who does paddle pop streets or whatever? And they've got this thing, afternoon calcium made fun, and then they've got like this icy pole, like an ice cream, and they're trying to brainwash us into thinking that there's this concept, afternoon calcium, that you therefore need to give your child a paddle pop icy pole for their own health in the afternoon.
Force feed them on paddle pops.
Have you ever heard that before?
I've never heard it before.
That you're meant to give your children calcium in the afternoon.
No, except I have a general idea. It'd be far better for us to graze during the day, like your animal.
Ah, yes.
Rather than to sit down with knives, forks and spoons and stuff ourselves in an hour or half an hour 3 times a day. We should be grazing, John. We should be wearing a feed bag around our neck so that we can have little dips. That would suit you, wouldn't it?
What's the fattest you've ever been?
The fattest has been about 17.5 stone. But you wouldn't understand that because you don't know what stones and pounds are.
No, I'm
very
sure.
heavy. Very heavy. Grosso. Troppo grosso. Only for a little time in the 60s when I was when I was grazing
Yes.
and eating and drinking large quantities of food and drink.
And alcohol.
Beautiful alcohol. Lunch starting at 12:30, finishing at 5. Beautiful.
I really wish I knew you during your drinking days.
Do you think? Because
I would have drunk if you, because I don't drink that much.
No.
But if you would drink, if you drink again, I'll drink with you.
You'll be in it, will you?
Yeah, I'll be in it with you. I'll drink anything with you. I think you'd make a good drunk.
Do you think what a singing, dancing drunk? My daddy was a singing, dancing drunk, but he was also, I think, a bit nasty.
Yes.
I'd like to get nasty sometimes. Do you think I'd need to be drunk to be nasty?
I'm so annoyed that people think if you don't drink, there's some big tragic story behind it. Like I was beaten by my father, who was a drunk.
Yes.
But I just wasn't.
No.
I have no one died in a car crash in my family. No. I just, for whatever reason, don't particularly like alcohol.
No.
But it's like neither here nor there.
No.
Like if I'm somewhere and it's like, and someone's being polite and they go, oh, drink this. Like, oh, I'm pouring you this. How about this? You know, I'll have it. I don't care.
No.
I just don't care.
No. But you haven't fallen down.
Because Australians are a bunch of fat, drunk, Collingwood following,
all of that.
violent, toothless bogans. They can't get their head around the fact that you just don't drink for no particular... They think there's some awful things happen to you.
So then there's some sinister reason why you don't. You see? Don't have anything to do with him because he doesn't drink, therefore he can't be fair dinkum.
Yes.
All right, thank you for that. I wasn't going to confess publicly at all anyway. You lured me into a trap. You wanted me to tell the whole country.
Did you ever smoke cigarettes?
I'm not going to say anything now.
Did you ever smoke cigarettes?
I never did, nor have I ever, and shall I ever be a member of the Communist Party.
Now, dear listener, one of my favourite once Bob was exposed to me by a third party.
As what?
Well, it looked a lot worse than it was. I've told you this. This was like years ago. I was at a party and a transvestite, no kidding, I promise you, dear listener, a transvestite comes up to me and says...
Oh, God, here we go.
says, John, I've got a little secret about your friend. And I go, which friend? He goes,
God.
Father Bob. And I'm like, oh, my God, I can't believe this. I'm so excited. A transvestite's come up to me to expose a secret on Father Bob. But then as it comes, I go, what is it? He goes, during the week I work at a tobacco shop, and Bob comes in and buys cigars, but he doesn't like people saying that he smokes cigars. I don't like that. So so this thing where I thought you were going to be exposed as being in some lurid transvestite
or dressed as Sister Roberta.
Yes. Cross-dressing kind of...
after hours.
Yes. I just find out all you do is you smoke cigars sometimes.
Or pole dancing.
Yes.
In the city.
Yes.
Eh? No, well, you see, you can't even get me on that now because I don't smoke cigars anymore. So I've given up all sin in preparation for the trip to the great beyond. Because you never know, do you, when it can happen to you. You know what I mean? Slip out of the bus, park outside here, fall flat on your head, get crushed by a steamroller, anything could happen. You know what I mean? Sunday, anything can happen.
We'll talk more after this.
Denzel Washington.
No, not Denzel Washington.
Who?
I think Diane.
No, not Diane.
Okay.
Anyway, the song's Cry Me a River by...
Justin Timberlake.
Exactly.
We should not be
we shouldn't
left in
play
control.
with this. That's not fair. We apologise to the kiddies.
Now, joining us from Auckland, New Zealand, the director of a superb half-documentary, half-regular narrative film that's going to be showing at the Melbourne International Film Festival, Reign of the Children, and here's director Vincent Ward. How are you?
I'm good, thanks.
Now, your film's very intense. I don't recommend you see it if you're already... If you're already a little sad, I don't think you should go see it. It might push you over the edge.
I don't know. We do try and make people laugh in a couple of places.
You do, and I won't wreck it, obviously. No spoilers here, but I like at the end you try to make it really, really happy at the end to try to kind of negate the sort of the melancholy of the previous 1 hour and 28 minutes.
Well, we've got humour at the front, and I think it is an uplifting story. I don't think we've gone Hollywood at the end, but... I do believe that somehow there was something that, saved her life in a funny sort of way.
I should interrupt you now because, of course, no one knows what we're talking about because I'm such a bad interviewer. I didn't set up what the whole film was about. And so give us the blurb about Reign of the Children.
Well, Reign of the Children is the true and extraordinary life story of a woman, a Maori woman called Puhi, who just had this amazing life. She lived with the prophet Rua Kenana, Maori prophet.
Now, let's talk a bit about Rua, because I found this fascinating. Now, Rua was a Maori who got his hands on the Old Testament and decided that, one of the lost tribes of Israel was his community.
That's right. And, he adapted pretty freely the Old Testament. He had 12 wives, and so that would have kept him in line.
And did he think he was like Jesus, or did he think he was like Moses, or did he think he was
Moses,
like God?
I think, somewhere between, God overall and Moses. But, he also did a lot of things that were, he did try to lead his people into the 20th century, and he did a lot of positive things for them.
And there was a mountaintop where he tried to make that a parallel to, what happened in the Old Testament. Like he was leading his people to this mountain in New Zealand that was meant to be, for him, he was saying, well, this is what it talks about in the Old Testament, of the Jews being led.
About a third of their tribe from disease in about 5 years, and so they had to flee the Europeans, they felt, just to survive. But the problem was they took the diseases with them, and it was the middle of winter, and so it was like a real amazing struggle that they had. But then amazing things happened to them too.
Now, the woman who's the subject of the film, or the main subject, she was a Maori woman who was married to one of Rua's sons?
Yeah, she got married at 12, and she had at least her first or second child was when she was like 14 during a massive police raid where 60 armed constabulary came in the middle of the Second World War and attacked his community.
And a series of just unpleasant events just seemed to affect both her and anyone who came in contact with her, and this led everyone to claim that she was cursed.
Well, she came, it's like a climate of, if bad things happen to you, then traditionally Maori look for a reason, and when it's sort of not too far from the Old Testament either. So, they assumed that she was cursed, and she felt the same.
And so a lot of her family would modern people, they'd look at what happened and say, oh, there was some mental illness in the system, and it would just kept on getting passed on.
Yeah, the feeling was that these things were passed on down family lines, and they interpreted, something like schizophrenia or whatever as a curse that could go from the children to the children's children and so on. Sometimes it would also be seen as a gift, though, like you were some sort of spiritual guru who had a link to some other world.
Yeah, because one of her kids, Nicky, he was a bit like that, where there were he was perceived both ways, whereas both a danger and both a victim of the curse, but also having extra powers that he could see things that regular people couldn't see.
Yeah, and he, often these things have a practical basis. Like if you've been in a mental hospital and you've also worked with, seen how the psychiatrists work and so on, you pick up a range of skills about dealing with people who've got similar problems, and in your lucid moments, you can actually do something amazing and helpful with other patients.
And the Maoris you interviewed, in the present day about this story, they didn't all say, oh, no, back then they thought it was a curse, but now we know more and we think it's mental illness. There are still people now who believe that the whole thing that happened to her and everyone who touched her was a curse. Yeah,
well, it's a very traditional area of New Zealand. It's in the middle of a vast bush area, and it's one of the last tribes to fight the Europeans in war, and they've retained a lot of the old ways. So that's what they felt. That's what many of them still feel. But also, she was a pretty provocative and fiery lady. She had a habit of, if someone really annoyed her, one of the biggest insults you can do for a woman is to lift your skirts, and they didn't always wear undies back then, and sort of make a display to the man who was sort of the bane of your troubles. And in this case, it was a kind of priest. Her husband was kind of like a priest, and so people felt that some of these things that came down on her were in some ways provoked because of her fiery temper.
Now, fortunately for the film, you had filmed this, even though both the woman and her son are dead now. You had filmed both of them several decades ago before you knew all about this curse, didn't you?
Yeah, I didn't realise a lot of these things. So for me, this new film is a bit like a detective story or a folk tale as I go in and try and uncover, the secrets in some ways in her family. And I lived with them for 18 months on and off.
When was that? What year was that?
78, 79. So I was just a youngster. And then I came back all about...
So when you were filming them back then for 2 years, what did you think was happening? Were you just thinking, here are two isolated people living in squalor, both possibly with mental illnesses and stuff?
Well, this sort of symbiotic sort of relationship. And I thought when she, because she'd pray all the time. She'd pray, and that's sort of fairly traditional. She'd pray when I'd be driving, and it wasn't just my bad driving. And I thought that was just sort of a fear because of his disease. I didn't realise that she was praying because she was worried this thing would come down on him. So I sort of interpreted some of the things she did differently, and over the years I learned more about it, and people told me more.
Yeah, the way this film, the new one, structured, at the very start, you just see this muttering, very old woman with a very frail body, and I kept on thinking about when you're walking down the street and you see some homeless person or whatever, and they're muttering to themselves,
but she's praying. She's actually praying. She's doing
then your whole film is it's almost like the backstory of one person who mutters all the time, and it just goes back it goes back 100 years.
And you start to understand where it comes from and why she's so obsessed, with her man-child son, with her last man-child son, and what happened to the 14 children that just seemed to largely disappear off the map. I'm not going to give that part of it away.
No.
Have people connected to the family seen the film you've done?
Yeah. We just had a huge screening in New Zealand last night, this premiere in Auckland, and they broke out. People were crying through the screening, and laughing a lot, because there's quite a lot of humour in the film in odd places. And they broke out into spontaneous haka and these beautiful karangas, these beautiful calls during the credits. Just pretty uniformly, people were blown away by it. And it's not, I wish I could say that happened all the time with films one makes, but it definitely is happening with this film.
And are you going to, do that Lord of the Rings thing? You know how they've got Lord of the Rings tours now in New Zealand? Are you going to drive people around in a little bus, recreating scenes from Reign of the Children?
It's funny you should say that, because it's only in an almost ironic way. Another film company was filming in the same area we're filming, and the locals were going along, well, hey, this is where Vincent had all these warriors, and they were, one of them was stripped down, and he's actually in and under the snow, but he was keen on doing it. He didn't mind, because we filmed a battle scene halfway up a mountain, and so, there's all these legends about the film already.
Reign of the Children is showing at the Melbourne International Film Festival, and is it going to go wider, or is it just going to go straight to DVD?
Well, we think it'll be on theatrically in Australia and other countries. It's coming up for release in New Zealand very shortly. There's a lot of interest in it.
You have to concentrate hard, though. It's almost like you have to take notes whilst watching it to kind of keep up with it.
Oh, I hope not.
Not in a bad way. I'm saying it was just a complex story.
Yeah, well, it's layered. It is layered, but the basic story is there's a simple line to it, but it is layered. The simple line of someone who's brought up in a world of curses and extraordinary and unexplainable events, who then feels she is herself cursed.
Vincent Ward, thank you very much for your great film, Reign of the Children, and thanks for talking to us.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you.
Cog, say your last goodbye, John. Sunday Night Safran on Triple J.
The wife of one of America's biggest sports stars, Alex Rodriguez, has accused Madonna of using Cabello to steal her husband.
Oh.
She says she was using I feel like Madonna was using Cabello mind control over him. I don't recognise the man he's become.
Yeah?
I wonder if you can use Cabello in that way.
I don't know.
I'm going to try that out. I'm going to consult my Kabbalah rabbis this week.
Yeah?
To
Are they
see-
Kabbalah rabbis?
Oh, yeah.
Specialists?
Yeah, specialists.
Ah.
And see, but you see, the problem is like they don't, because they're all like you. They have the facade, like where they pretend it's all soft and pleasant.
Yes,
and
that's right.
Blah blah.
Yes.
and whatever. And you have to really dig deep and hassle them to
And find the hard centre.
find the really cool, crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Such as the thing where you dig a hole near the headstone or behind the headstone of a grave, and then you go into it, like you dig it 6 feet down. Then you go down into it and prostrate yourself, and so your head touches where the
body.
Yeah, the body would be. So it's like, and then you can absorb their kind of their thoughts and stuff like that, and use them to help out.
Well, who's to say, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't...
Worth a try.
Now, that other man, excuse me raising the question, that famous rabbi died last week.
Rabbi Groner, Senior.
Yeah.
So not the Rabbi Groner that you saw in episode 2 of Music Jamboree.
No.
That's Rabbi Groner Jr.
All right. But this was his daddy.
Yes.
And the famous man. 80s?
Yes, 80s.
Right.
Hey, sort of, it's not it's sort of a new segment. But no, I'll just cut to the chase. Remember how we were talking about several weeks ago about things where you hold a particular political position,
yes.
and it implies you must be, left wing in all these other areas. So we talked about the organic coffee shop.
Yes.
That was run by these people who believed in organic growing of beans and all vegetables and natural stuff. But one of their other beliefs was that slavery was good, and it was a mistake to free the black slaves because the Bible says you're allowed to have slaves.
Thank you.
So here's another one kind of sort of in the same area, but not quite as extreme or whatever. But this is like a group called Set America Free, and they're all for this environmental stuff. Like we've got to work out a way to, make cars so they don't have to consume petrol because it's it's a dwindling resource, and they're into solar power, they're into all things, they're research and development so we can stop...
Fish and chip oil.
So we can stop robbing the environment of these resources, right? So you go, oh, that's pretty cool, this Set America Free. But then their thing is, where they're coming from, is they're like Islamophobic, or they're very... They don't like the Arab world. So where they're going, we are sick of being slaves and, under the,
the yoke.
the grace...
Oh, yes, of the Arabs.
Of the Arabs who have all the fuel.
Yeah.
So that's why their environmentalism is informed by their sort of paranoia or arguably Islamophobia about Muslims and Arabs.
So what can you do about that?
No, you can't do anything. I just thought. It's a bit like, I guess it's like that thing where there's lots of, like, right-wing vegetarians, which I should stop bringing up because every time I bring it up, a vegetarian plans an attack on me.
Yes.
But then, whilst reaching for their gun so they can then hunt me down, they collapse because of their lack of iron.
Ah, I see. You're lucky
Yes.
that they're all...
It
I
is.
noticed 27
That's
people
why you
lying
can-
on the grass outside. Also, I said, what's wrong with you? And they said, I'm suffering from iron deficiency. Come on.
Hey, we're talking to another filmmaker,
Yes.
Luke Walker,
Yep.
who did a doco about a cult, and he's now doing another doco about exorcism after this.
I'd like to.
Either upset
Fleet
or
foxes,
hey,
John.
hey.
Fleet foxes, mate, with
my
Tiger
God.
Mountain peasant.
Hope the Archbishop
Sunday
of
night.
Canterbury
Well, he was
listening.
listening to their
'Cause their microphones-
Sunday Night
Sorry.
Safran on
Oh,
Triple
shut up.
J.
Sorry about Archbishop of
I think you've
Canterbury
stumbled on
for
the
bagging
lunatic
you when the
asylum
microphone...
radio station.
Oh my God! And now we've got
mad
like a third
people.
banana who laughs at our jokes. That's fantastic. Which is Luke Walker, documentary maker. His last film was Beyond Our Ken, which is finally getting a sort of a release of sorts.
Yes, finally. It's It
was played in festivals about a year ago, but now it's like getting released properly on DVD
That's
and also getting proper cinema release, sort of like.
Yeah,
couple of screenings.
we're going out towards the end of July at Dendy. in Sydney and Brisbane, which is great. Yeah.
Now, tell us the story of Beyond Our Ken. Who is Ken in this documentary, Beyond Our Ken?
Right. Well, I became aware of Kenja after leaving the VCA film school here in Melbourne. It was a group that had been derided in the media as a cult. It had been going for about 25 years, and it had been linked to various disappeared people like Cornelia Rao and another chap, Richard Leap, who...
Now, Cornelia Rao, she was the woman who was found in a detention centre who didn't have any identification.
That's right.
And obviously shouldn't have been in a detention centre.
Yeah. Well, she didn't reveal who she was, and so she got put in the detention centre for 6 months. But that's not what our film is about. I thought that I'd just go along and check it out and see what this group was all about, because it had had such a bad press over the years. And they're just there on Burke Street in Melbourne and in Surrey Hills in Sydney. You can just walk in and you can say, "Here I am. What's it all about? I've come to check you out." So that's what I did. Just walked in, and
it seems like a kind of a self-help type
that's
course.
That's the kind of thing. I mean, you can learn all sorts of different skills there. You know, you can learn to dance, you can learn to play an instrument, you can learn to you can learn the essential idea behind it is that you can learn to become a different person. You can learn new skills, and you can become a new person. And at the centre of it, they have something called energy conversion. And I think that the best way to describe it would be, they believe that everything that stops you becoming the person that you could be, fulfilling your full potential, the thing that stops you becoming the person that you should be, you have these spirits inside you that are holding you back. So let's say you get trapped in the wardrobe as a child, and from that moment on you have a fear of enclosed spaces. Well, they would say that at that moment you were trapped in the wardrobe as a child, a spirit entered you and has been with you ever since. So using this energy conversion process, you can remove that spirit and no longer be afraid of enclosed spaces.
And people have said it's kind of a diluted rip-off of Scientology, or that aspect of it.
Yes. Yeah. Well, the leader, Ken Dyers, was a Scientologist many years ago. I mean, the group's been going for 25 years, and he's what the Scientologists call a squirrel. And a squirrel is when you take the teachings of Scientology and you set up your own little group
enclave,
with
your own little group of nuts.
With
no, sorry.
With the teachings of Scientology. So there is definitely a Scientology element to it, but I think that they would disagree.
I know, and a lot less flavour than the Scientologists.
Flavour?
Well, like the Scientologists have the sort of the... Well, from my perspective, like they just go totally over the top.
Yeah, with
on everything from their art direction of their books to their theology.
Yeah, well, I think that was to
their uniforms.
Probably a lot to do with budget. Yeah.
Yes, and the Kenja people, they're like the Kath and Kim kind of version.
I mean, I don't want to get into that kind of territory, because I know these people. They're very nice. They're very lovely, very nice people.
Yep.
So I feel I don't want to bang them or anything.
And he's died, poor man. God rest his soul.
Well, this is the update. When we last spoke about this doco about a year ago, listeners might remember. Well, since then, a few things have happened. One of them has been the subject of the documentary. He killed himself on the week that your film was going to play at a film festival.
About 2 weeks before. I mean, it was nothing to do with the film. I mean...
How do you know it had nothing to do with the film?
Well, there was... I mean, towards the end of the film, we start to discuss the allegations that were levied against him. He was accused of, all manner of things, but mainly the thing that he'd been in court for 10 years... for various different allegations of molestation of children, and the main factor, I think, to his suicide was that he was facing another charge. Another charge was brought against him, and that's all at the end of the film. I think, the remarkable thing about Ken was that I think that he could justify all of his actions, whatever you think he did or didn't do. I think that he was able to justify everything that took place, and there's a scene towards the end of the film where he's trying to explain what happens when a woman is cleared of sexual energy. Ken believed that a woman needed to, she needed, particularly at a certain age, around about the age of 13, 14, when she's becoming aware of her sexuality, she has to be cleared of sex. She has to experience sexual energy to understand what it's all about.
And how decent of him to come in and help her out with that.
And there's a scene towards the end of the film where he hasn't forgotten the cameras are rolling. He is trying to make us understand what that clearing of sexual energy is all about. And remarkably, with everything that he's faced over the last 10 years, all these allegations of child sexual abuse, he is on camera describing a pubescent girl's body. He's got a girl in front of him, and he is talking about how lovely her body is becoming. And he's describing it lustfully. And this process is supposed to be good for her. This process is helping her understand what male sexual energy is all about, so that when she encounters it, she will know how to deal with it. And with everything that's been going on for the last 10 years, he thought that was okay to try to demonstrate, to try to make us explain why he does what he does.
Now, when a sect loses its leader, it often falls apart. Well, what's happened to Kenja since Ken has killed himself?
Well, Kenja's still going. I mean, they've still got their offices there on Burke Street and in Surrey Hills. They've also still got one in Canberra. I mean,
you've got the other half of it, haven't you? You've got Jan.
That's right. Well, it was a husband and wife team. Ken had his teachings. He was the pioneer of energy conversion. And you had Jan, who was a former actress, who she used she used what they call clowning techniques, which was basically like a drama class. She was like the other half of the Kenja teachings. She could help you work out how to use different energies, how to become a different person, because that's what a performer does. She was teaching you how to become a different person.
So what has the group done since the release of the doco? Were they happy with it?
No. I did my absolute utmost to make sure that every allegation that was levied against them, they had their opportunity, their right to reply, and everyone that I've spoken to believes that it's a very balanced piece, and I don't know how it could have been more balanced, but they're not happy with it, and they flew out to Toronto in, I think it was April, to protest at the screenings in Toronto, and they were handing out flyers and interrupting the Q&A and stuff. And just to answer your question from earlier, Jan is now she's now fully in charge of the group. She used to be called Jan Hamilton, now she's called Jan Dyer. She's taken fully on Ken's name, and she's giving all the lectures, and she's even giving a lecture the day after our screening. We screen on the 24th of July in Sydney at Dendy Newtown, and they're giving a lecture the day after, the following day, on Guthrie Street. If you've got $65 burning a hole in your pocket, you can go in here. I believe that we told the full story. We gave every side that we could, but they obviously feel that they still have more to say, and that they're saying it.
In a way, you've given them a lease of life. Because they just follow you around and use your doco as publicity. Maybe. Well, and even on their website, they've done a parody of your doco. That's how weird it's kind of
funny. I actually think it's quite funny, and I'm happy to. It's
like a doco, a parody, kind of trying to accuse your doco of being underhanded or something.
Yeah. And at the the Q&As and stuff, I tell people to go and check it out, because they obviously feel that they've still got more to say. I mean, these lectures that they give now, it's all about their persecution in the media, which is I thought that's what we did in Beyond Our Ken, was that we explained how they've been persecuted by the media over the last 25 years, but they obviously feel that they've still got more to say about that. So that's what they're doing. That's what they're doing now. But I mean, it's $65 to go along and take a look at it. But I'm happy to tell people, go along and take a look, and take a look at the website. Kenja.com.au. They've done these very amusing parodies of our film on there. It's quite interesting.
Did Cornelia say that she'd been there and done that?
Did Cornelia say that she was in Kent? That she
did the course.
Yeah. Well, we went.
She tried lots of ways, didn't she, to try to get herself right?
Yeah. I mean, we interviewed Cornelia Rao, and her ending up in Baxter detention said it was a long time after her time in Kenya. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, we spoke. She appears in the film. We spoke to her about it. Yeah.
Now we're going to go to a track, but please stay here because we want to talk to you about your next project, which is starting about 25 minutes after you walk away from this microphone.
Yeah, I should be packing now.
Should you? Morning Light by Sparkadia, John, Triple J, Sunday Night Safran.
Still with us is documentary maker Luke Walker, who's just told us about his old documentary, but now he's off on an aeroplane tomorrow morning to go to America to start his next one. What is your new documentary about?
Well, we're going to go and hang out. Am I supposed to lean forward, am I? We're going to go and hang out with some exorcists for a month. We've got a whole load of exorcists.
The whole exorcist thing. Yeah, you really know you're scraping the bottom of the barrel when you go out and start filming exorcisms, let me tell you.
Yeah. Well, we're not going to go and see Bob Larson. I think he's been done. I think someone did him. We're going off to see a whole host of exorcists
in the United States.
Yeah, from all manner of faiths. It's remarkably popular. There was some statistics that astounded me. 42% of Americans believe that it's possible to become possessed by the devil. 42%, and that's from a Gallup poll. That's like a legitimate, respected poll. And even more recent statistics: 70% of Americans believe in hell and the devil as real entities, not metaphors. They believe that they're real places and a real thing that exists that can influence your life. You compare that with that same question asked to people from Canada and from Britain. If you ask a Canadian the same question, again, these are Gallup polls again. That is, I think 39% of Canadians believe the same way, and I think it's about 28% of Britons think the same way. So why?
Heaps.
Why do America? It is a lot, but it's half of it's half or almost half. So I'm interested as to why Americans think so.
Well,
differently.
you better hope it's true because it's going to make a far more interesting documentary. If you catch what are you hoping to catch on camera?
Well, we're researching it at the moment. We're going out there to try and find out characters. So it really is very early days. We've just finished getting our noses out the books, and we're just going to see what the situation is on the ground, as it were. But we've got, I found, it's fascinating. I've found a psychiatrist. He's a professor. He works in a hospital. He's a practicing psychiatrist, and he wrote an article about an exorcism that he saw recently. He claims that this woman was levitating. He claims he saw her levitate. She spoke languages she couldn't speak before. She knew things about people in the room that she couldn't possibly have known, and that books were flying off the shelves during this exorcism. Now, this is a chap with credibility. This is he's a psychiatrist.
Now, dear listeners, Father Bob is going to deny in his usual kind of glossing over his church. He's going to try to pretend that his church doesn't believe in exorcism anymore, which is garbage. They do.
I tried to
anyway,
ask you,
Bob.
He wouldn't give
No,
anything
I'm not
away.
saying anything. I mean, I've never seen it. I've never seen an exorcism.
But the Catholic Church says...
Yeah, Catholic Church...
They say it's rare, but it can happen.
Yeah, but the Catholic Church has had officially appointed... Well, they're even in Melbourne, where I am. There must be an officially appointed exorcist here in
Melbourne?
In Melbourne, there must be.
Huh?
And they kept secret. I thought because I've been trying to find out.
Well, Rome's been... because you lot got it Rome, the Fourth Estate got it Rome, and said, hang on, what about all this mysterious... Then they said, hey, listen, here's the Roman exorcist, appointed officially, and they go and see a nice little old man, butter wouldn't melt in his mouth, and he says he's been having light heavyweight bouts with the devil, for 30, 40 years. And he's still smiling, but he's got that look that he's been into the...
Yeah.
He can feel the breath of the dragon.
Yeah.
You know the hardest of hardcore Kabbalists they believe in exorcism.
Yeah, well, I think it's a peculiar requirement of the human condition. I think, and I think that every religion has their version of it. And some would say that the practice of psychiatry is just a modern form of.
Well, you've got to cope with these extraordinary breakdowns of the human personality, haven't you?
Well, it's merely existing.
Explain it somehow.
Yeah,
haven't you?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think everyone needs a way to clean the stains on their soul that accumulate just merely through existing.
But see, it's the people who have these alleged stains on their souls oftentimes are it's countercultural. They're the least likely people that you'd expect to have stains on their souls.
A lot of the clients or the congregation of exorcist Bob Larson, who I met, they were like abused women, and that's why they went there. They thought, I'm doing psychobabble pop psychology here, but it was like, they felt kind of dirty or something.
Yes.
And then they thought somehow this was going to give them, flush it out of them so they could feel like they felt before they were abused.
Yeah. Flush out the toxins.
Well, and if it helps, and if you have that belief system and it helps, I don't think there's anything
what does
wrong
it
with
matter?
that.
But then you're saying people flying through the bloody air and all that kind of stuff. That starts to frighten the natives, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, that's.
Ladies and gentlemen in the congregation on Sunday, excuse me, would Mrs. McGillicuddy mind coming down to earth? You know what I mean? Because you're upsetting the back row or something. They can't see.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to see.
You've never seen it.
No, I've never seen. Well, but that's what I'm going there to find out all about it. I'm going to see.
See, could I imagine seeing these things, even if I was an exorcist, and not see them? Are there witnesses to all these?
Well, that's what I think. That's what I think.
Are there witnesses?
There are several witnesses, but a guy that I'm seeing as soon as we arrive, he tries to find sceptical answers for what he saw. He's a priest,
and he was in company at the time.
He was in company at the time. There was 3 or 4 of them there, and he thinks that perhaps some sort of peculiar group hypnosis took place. He's even trying to rationalise it, saying perhaps it's some sort of telekinesis or something.
Yes.
And I think that when you're in a hyper-aroused state, or to use other words, when you're freaked out, I think that you can see things that aren't necessarily there, and I think that you can do that as a group as well. How much time have we got? I've got a little story about when I was 16 that I think explains it. When I was 16, a girlfriend at the time had just passed a driving test. So as you do when you've just passed a driving test, you just drive places just because you can. Yeah. And we drove off up into the hills, up to this place where she told me that they used to hang people in the old days, 300 years ago or whatever. And we were freaking each other out, driving up into the hills, going up this dirt road that didn't go anywhere. And just as we're coming to the tree that she claimed that they used to hang people from, this noose dropped out of the tree and clipped the top of the car.
Get away.
And we started screaming, drove up this dirt track. And we know it doesn't go anywhere. This dirt track goes up into the hills and ends up in a field. It doesn't go anywhere. We've got to go back the way that we've just come. So but we don't want to stop the car, because as soon as you stop the car, you think that a face is going to press itself up against the window or something. So eventually we realised we have to stop the car. We stopped the car on this little dirt road, and we screaming, and we turn it around. We've now got to go back past where the noose was. So we're driving back down towards it, and we're rounding the corner, and we know we've got to go past it. We're just going to go past it as fast as we can. And as we round the corner, we look at it, and it's just a piece of rope hanging from the tree. It's just a piece of orange rope that kids were playing with. And yet we both saw a noose.
Was it?
But we both saw a noose. And afterwards we both said, I saw the noose. Didn't you see the noose? Yes, I saw the noose. And it's because we were freaking each other out. We were hyper-aroused, and we both saw something that wasn't there. And I think that you can explain a lot of incidents like that.
Luke Walker, exorcism skeptic, but won't be after he does a bit more research. Thank you very much for joining us, and good luck with your next adventure.
Cheers, mate. See you soon.
Wild-Eyed Boy, John, by Birds of Tokyo, Sunday Night Safran on Triple J.
Religious Song of the Week.
Now, Bob.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about the Chaldeans. We thought we were going to have a Chaldean come in, but he, unfortunately, his car broke down or something.
Well, he got nervous or something.
Now, let's talk about the Chaldeans. The reason this group came up, they're a group of Catholics, is because on the news the other week, they were talking about protests outside...
in St Patrick's Cathedral.
The main Catholic church
last
in Melbourne.
weekend.
And most of the protesters there, or the one that the news was concentrating on, were the people protesting just about the Catholic Church in regular ways, like for priests that are
all
interfering,
that,
blah,
all
blah.
that, all that.
But there was a group that actually raided it, and they were Iraqis.
Yes.
And they ran on into the Catholic Church and started screaming during Mass. And then we found out they were Iraqi Chaldeans.
Yes.
And they're like a branch.
Yeah,
of
well,
Catholicism?
they're in union with the Roman headquarters, Catholic
they're Catholics.
headquarters. Yes, but they have their own customs and they have their own rituals.
So they may
like
be
so many others in the Catholic Church.
Like perhaps, dear listener, you've heard about the Coptic.
The Coptics, there are Catholic Copts
in Egypt, or maybe you've heard of the Maronites. They're like the Lebanese equivalent. That's
the
Steve
Syrian Rite. The Latins, of course, is the one with most. But in Baghdad, it says here, the Armenians have got 3,000 Catholic Armenians. The Roman Catholics are 4,000. The Syrians have got 47,000 in Iraq. The Chaldeans have got 600,000.
And even in Australia, I believe, is there, what is it, 10,000? Or is it even more?
It could well be more.
It well could be more.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I mean, it's very old. This is a very old lot with a so-called patriarch.
So why do they feel part of the Catholic Church? Just because they didn't break away when the Protos broke away?
Well, they may well have broken away, but no. Yeah, but they would have been. Look, there's been fights in the Catholic Church since the beginning about who was in charge. Now, the man who's coming to Sydney next week, the other rights, would classify as being the Patriarch of Rome, whereas they would say, the Babylonians would say, the Iraqis would say they've got their own patriarch and they're all equal.
Anyway, we're going to listen to
the Roman has taken over.
Chaldean song, a Chaldean Iraqi Catholic song for Religious Song of the Week. Father Bob, we have to go now.
Yes.
Thank you very much to Miriam Cabello. And you can see her exhibit, Black Boxing Jesus, at the MLC Gallery there in New South Wales. Thank you to Joan Cocksedge from the Australia-Cuba Friendship Society. Thank you very much, Director Vincent Ward, Reign of the Children. That's showing at the Melbourne International Film Festival. And thank you to Luke Walker. His film Beyond Our Ken is showing in Sydney on Thursday the 24th of July at Newtown, Dendy, and Tuesday July the 29th in Brisbane at Dendy, George Street. And thank you, Father Bob.
Chaldeans for the music.
And thank you, Chaldeans, for the music. And thank you, David, producer. Go to triplej.net.au/Safran and write something on the guest book.
And cheerio to Sir Pell in Turkey.
And cheerio to Sir Pell in Turkey. And thank you, dear listeners, and hope you tune in again next week.
Triple J!